I'll unmute myself. That probably will help. Hello, everyone. Can we be heard?
You're in.
A quick yes from somebody.
Both of
just to
us.
help me. Yay! There we go. It's. I was going to say it's almost one of the first times we haven't had technical difficulties, but let me forewarn you just before or as we were setting this up, as I'm sure you're aware, we use XSplit to broadcast, and XSplit had an update. And normally when I run it, I'm using about 30% of the computer's CPU. Since the update, it's now running at about 80% and giving me all sorts of warning messages that quality may be affected. So I warn you in advance that whilst we started not too late for us, and without too many technical issues, there may be some in the future. I just forewarn you of that. There we go. But welcome everyone to another exciting edition of the Magic Sandwich Show, which I've labelled 118. I think in error because I've missed out 117. But does it really matter? I guess not. And it's a pleasure to welcome Hogtie Champ to the show. Somebody is saying sell the 486 DPR and upgrade. The 486. What's the 486?
It refers to the 8486 processor, which was top of the line, 1989, 88, maybe 1988.
Well, I got my first computer when it was around 1980, and it was a ZX81. Do you remember those?
Uptown, yeah.
That had 1 kilobyte of memory,
Yeah.
and you could actually get a memory extension which was about the size of a spectacle case that added an extra 16 kilobytes of memory. You had to program everything. Oh, sorry, Portabits. Yeah, ZX81 was in 1981. I wasn't far off though. But
ZX80, yeah.
yeah.
You had to build your own, yeah.
Yeah, you had to write every program from scratch, and it was a very basic form of BASIC. So, you know, in a little bit more than half my lifetime, things have progressed a little bit, I guess. As you'll notice, welcome to Hogtie Champ. Only person with us today. So, if anyone is interested in joining us, send a contact request to Magic Sandwich Show. If you have a topic that you would like to discuss, include in the message, please, what it is you'd like to discuss. We've got a few issues and things to talk about, but for just us talking for 2 hours might get a bit boring. So if somebody wants to join us, please do. You can also send messages or questions through to us on Twitter at @TheDPRJones. Or you can put questions or whatever into the chat in Vaughan. I'll keep an eye on those, and I think Hogtie's keeping an eye on the YouTube channel, which is being broadcast simultaneously. So there we go. As usual, Hogtie, I'd like to start off with the top news items of the last week or so. And see whether you've been keeping up to date, see whether our intelligent audience has been keeping up to date.
Sure. Sorry, I was briefly distracted as I was handed an urgent bulletin
Oh,
about child marriage and religious exemptions. We were, just before we went to air, I mentioned to her that we were hoping to talk about some of these, let's call it bills that would install religious exemptions to common sense and decency. And at that time in her feed, she had seen a message that was relevant to child marriage. So,
well, that's certainly something we can come on with. We've
but
also got the topic of religious freedom laws to deal with. So yeah,
I just think that I was half listening. When my wife talks to me, you're reduced to one ear.
I'm not sure whether that's insulting to me or to her. Probably more to her than me. And again, I'm getting messages, high CPU usage detected. You may experience performance issues. Well, I don't know. It seems to be working all right at the moment. and the total number of frames dropped is still 0. So we'll just battle on and see where we get to. But yes, have you been keeping up to date with current affairs? Now,
no, that would be cheating. So
it's not cheating. It's not cheating actually, because
that was the point of it.
Well, yes, we're going to do a little quiz once I get it set up, and I have to tell you, you'll have to take my word for this. Obviously, I've been so busy in the last week or so that I've not had time to look into this. And although I know, and let me just bring up the screen capture so we can look at it. I know the answer to the first question, but I have not gone through them, and I do not know what other questions there are, or what the answers are. So we're in the same boat. Well, I don't know whether we are, because I know what the answer to the first one is. But let me just bring it up on screen. Make it a little bit bigger, I hope. Let's narrow that down. And of course, the audience are welcome to join in as well. So this is something, well, I better not tell you where it is, but it comes from, just in case you cheat on the next occasion. So the first question is, and we'll mark ourselves. I say I know the answer to the first one, but I've not gone through them all. First question: what are horses able to recognise according to a new study? Whether it is going to rain, whether music sounds out of tune, or what emotions people feel. Now I'm going to let you go first, because as I say, I know the answer to this one.
Oh,
I do.
According to a new study, I'm not familiar with a new study about it. It would, if I were more grounded, I would say when it's going to rain, because you think they have a pretty good. The music thing, I no. I don't know. It's sort of old pattern, because they can detect emotions, and having spent a lot of time around horses, I'm not saying this is what the new study is about, but I'm a believer. I don't know of any good scientific evidence that says horses could tell your emotions, but I sure think they do, just the way they react. So yeah, I'm going to go with human emotions, the third one there.
Yeah, well, I think you're absolutely right. I did see this in the news. Let's just check it out. And I have the audience have all gone for it as well. So, oh, it didn't. Hang on. I don't know what if I go back. Normally, it was. Oh, come on. Yes, there we go. Correct. Horses are able to discriminate between happy and angry human facial expressions, according to a new to research by the University of Sussex. I think I have to pause for a moment, though, because whilst this is being broadcast, the Welsh Open Snooker Final Championship is taking place, and I'm a huge snooker fan. I'm also a huge fan of Ronnie O'Sullivan, who was playing. And at the half-time interval, he was 5-3 down. But I noticed that Board to Bits has said that he's won 4 frames on the trot. Is that right, Board? What's the latest score? I'm sorry, I am a huge snooker fan. I'm going to have to try and catch the highlights later. Board to Bits, don't let me down. I know there's a few seconds lag. 7-5 to Ronnie. Wow. And he only needs, is it 9? It's best of 17, isn't it? Oh, that's wonderful. All right, there we go. So that's 1 mark each to the audience, to you and to me. The next question. Let me just check that we can see that. The internet company Amazon has updated its terms of service to cover what dark possibility for the future of the human race? I have no idea about this. Zombie apocalypse, alien invasion, or technological singularity, computer revolt. Right. What internet company? What internet? I'm so sorry. The internet company Amazon has updated its terms of service to cover what dark possibility for the future of the human race. And the audience are pretty certainly on Vaughan.
I'm giving them a fair chance to go first, but that's where I was going to.
I don't even understand what that would be. I'm going to rule out A. I don't think that there's going to be much that can be done in the event of an alien invasion. So I'm going to go for, even though I don't know what it means, technological singularity, which seems to be what the majority of the audience is going for. But don't let that affect it.
That was going to be my guess. Only
All right,
because
let's have a look.
Technological singularity is something that's being more discussed within the last year.
Can you explain what it is?
What I can do is tell people about an excellent channel out there called Computer File. Brady Heron is the producer for it. He's the same guy who's the producer for Number File and 60 Symbols that does stuff on chemistry. And,
I'm very familiar with them, yes.
Yeah. Is it Nottingham or someplace they do
it
this?
It is Nottingham University.
Yeah. I said ham, Nottingham. Shows I'm not from your country. Singularity. There's a view that computers get faster and faster, except for yours, evidently. That they're. I'm going to give the worst explanation of it. I mean, think of like what happens in science fiction movies when the computers get to a point where they can sort of start to program themselves.
That's what someone has put in the chat. All becoming able to improve itself.
Yeah, yeah. If you think about what happens when we take a look at a program and we try to improve it, I mean, for a human programmer to try to improve a program, you have to have such an in-depth understanding of the functioning of the code. And we're just, our meat brains are just only so fast at coming, even your own code. I've had things I've written, 6 months ago that I want to go back to change, and I was like, oh, what does this do? Why did I put that in there? Or, and we're
what
should be able to write its own program much faster than any human could understand it.
I know no one will believe this. There was a time when I was multilingual in computer programming. It was during my undergraduate days when I was doing mechanical engineering. And I was fairly fluent in BASIC, Fortran, Pascal, and C++.
Oh, yeah.
And now I know absolutely nothing. So, okay, we're all agreed. Technological... Wrong! Oh, no! It's zombie apocalypse.
It is zombie apocalypse.
You are kidding me.
A few people on Vaughan did say that.
Someone in Vaughan said that? Give yourself a big mark. The company's Civil Service Division has a specific clause in its terms and conditions which allows for the possibility of a widespread viral infection transmitted via bites or contact with bodily fluids that cause human corpses to reanimate and seek to consume living human flesh, blood, brain, or nerve tissue. Wow. Well, apart from the one, was it you, Bored to Bits, that said?
It was Bod.
Roy Batty as well seems to have got it right. Well, I'm impressed. You're doing well. You're 1 point up, I guess.
Yeah, well, someone sent me a link explaining that story, because is it a joke like how Google sometimes has sort of silly things?
I can only read what's on the card. I don't know. Okay, question number 3. Bookings at which restaurant chain rose in the US after it was mentioned in a line from Beyonce's new single? Red Lobster, In-N-Out Burger, or Chicken in the Rough?
I know nothing of Beyonce or Red Lobster. I'm going to cheat and
see what the audience say. I wouldn't recognise her if she came up in the street and slapped me in the face.
I would say Red Lobster.
I was going to go for Red Lobster as well.
Yeah.
But I can see, I don't even know if In-N-Out Burger exists. But just so we don't score the same points, I'm going to go for In-N-Out Burger. Because I can see that being, I don't know, it could be anything. What do people think?
In-N-Out Burger certainly has, the phrase In-N-Out Burger,
it's sort of like you could say
has
it's
more
being
of
a lyric.
Lyrical quality to it. Something almost rhythmic about going to In-N-Out Burger.
Someone's saying, someone's going for the chicken though. Chicken in the rough.
No. Chicken in the rough.
Chicken in the rough. I've had enough, but I don't know. Shall we have a look? Let's find out. We'll go with your answer. Red Lobster. You're right. You're right.
All right.
More messages of high
Is it?
CPU usage.
Oh.
Let's just shut
It
that
seems to be
down.
coming through. I've been trying to listen a little bit with because what'll happen, you'll drop frames on your on your transmission over to YouTube, and it seems to be doing okay. Um,
It gives me a message as to how many bytes and how many things are being encoded and the number of drop frames. And the drop frames at the moment is still 0. So I'm just guessing everything's working fine. So whoever said Red Lobster, give yourself a mark. Oh, somebody's claiming 3 points. Roy, are you sure? You're not cheating.
he's
If you
well,
cheat,
Roy.
you only cheat yourself. It's so untrue, though, isn't it? You only cheat yourself.
Yeah.
Of course you don't. Wouldn't be
Yeah,
cheating
well,
if you did.
Roy and Bod, I think, were the only ones to get the. It may have been someone else, but to get the last one about the zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse.
Yeah.
I did want to say that in terms of the music, I do think In-N-Out Burger actually has a nice lyrical quality.
Does it exist?
I've heard it maybe once. Again, that's probably an American thing. I've heard it maybe. Also, it has a nice sort of. You could probably work in some double entendre into the lyrics. But you think of like the phrase "sucking on a chili dog outside the tasty freeze," and I don't know how many people even had a tasty freeze in their country or state or whatever else. I mean, we had one years after the song "Jack and Diane" was very popular. We had one in a place that I lived, and it was quite a treat to finally understand what that line was.
Okay. Well, you're one up on me then, aren't you? 33% increase. That's not too bad. A new Royal Mail of Scotland £10 note will be the first to carry a picture of a woman, other than a royal. Which historical figure is it going to be? I suppose I've got a slight advantage because I'm a bit nearer to Scotland, but I have not heard. I've not heard of any of those people.
Oh, really?
No.
And they're going to put them on. These are not like famous people that like. Oh, I'm totally confused with Flora McDonald.
That name rings a bell, but I mean they're all. Mary Somerville is probably the least. Well, I don't know. Doesn't sound too Scottish. And Elsie Inglis.
If we have
Or
even one
Ingalls.
Scottish viewer, actually, I think we have one Scottish viewer right now on YouTube.
What's Roy going for?
Because
Oh, he's got no idea about this one.
Elsie.
Okay, I'm going to just for me, I'll go first on this one, just because it is the most Scottish sounding name, which is probably means it's going to be wrong. I'm going to go for Flora.
I'm going to, but I'll switch to Mary.
Okay,
Mary Somerville.
we'll have a look at Mary. Oh, you're whooping my ass today.
No, that
Mary
was
it is.
absolutely just a guess. That was just a guess.
And
know
who
who
is
they are. You
she?
think they've got
She's
famous
a
people with a lot of money.
Jedburgh-born scientist. Was elected the first member
Oh.
of the Royal Astronomical Society in 1835. And an Oxford college was named in her honour. Well, sorry, Mary. Didn't know that. Anyway, I think you're 2 up on me at the moment. Again, this is sort of like more topical for me. The Conservative Party held its annual fundraising event, the Black and White Ball, this week in London. Which of these auction lots raised the most money? A box for 20 at an Adele concert, a set of Tory election posters, a day's campaigning with Zach Goldsmith, the party's London mayoral candidate.
This week, which of these auction lots raised the most money?
Yeah.
A box of 20 for an Adele concert.
Well, I would have said that.
Yeah. But look at the Vaughn chat. They're like,
Oh,
clearly we don't know what
posters.
we're talking about.
Well, I was going to simply not to follow your answer. I was going to try and catch up with, and I was going to go for posters because I can't see a day's campaigning is going to. Who on earth would pay for that? So I'm going to go for the posters, and everyone's going for. What's Roy going for? He's gone for posters, so that encourages me slightly. Yep, there we go. £50,000, God. Well done, Roy. I think Roy's definitely winning, and I'm 1 point behind you, and we're running out of questions. The London home of Jimi Hendrix opened to the public this week as a museum celebrating both the legendary guitarist and the classical composer who lived in a different era next door to him. Who's the composer?
Oh, I feel I should know this.
I have a feeling that Handel actually may have spent some time in London, but whether he actually lived there, Henry Purcell.
I'm not allowed to ask you. We went over this, remember, last show. I got in trouble for
Oh
using
no,
one of
there's
your
no cheating.
answers.
I'm minded. I'm torn between Purcell and Handel. I know I'm pretty certain Handel spent some time in London, but I don't know. Is it
I
you
was
to go
gonna go.
first? You're going to go for.
I'll take Handel if I can go
You'll
first.
take Handel. Yeah, if you go first, I'll take Purcell. Let's have a look at Handel. Oh God, correct. I should have gone first on this one. You see, 25 Brook Street in London.
Yeah, I was going with that one little scrap of information. I had heard that he spent like, a significant amount of time in London, especially composing. So,
Why was the novel Jeffrey Archer donated a statue of Satan to? Why has he donated a statue of Satan to a museum in Oxford? It was freaking. It was freaking visitors out. He bought it by mistake to pay his tax bill. Do you know who Jeffrey Archer is?
I know of an author that wrote novels quite popular in the 80s.
Yes.
Oh, not novelist. It says novelist Jeffrey Archer right on there. Yeah. No,
He was a former politician who
He was. Oh, I didn't know that.
was actually at one time convicted of perjury. Spent a short time in prison. And he certainly started writing his books, I think, to pay his tax bill.
Well, this was some time ago then. Because I remember
I
my
don't-
mom
I
was
don't-
quite a fan of
I
his
don't
books.
know.
They were like spy books or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sort of, kind of thriller, sort of
They were-
trash. They weren't particularly well received. Um,
But the tax thing was a long time ago. Bought it by
I
mistake.
think this thing was a while ago, but he may be in difficulties again. I don't know. I'm going to rule out tax bill, and it's me to go first, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah.
And it just sounds so dubious. I'm going to say he bought it by mistake. And what was saying mistake? Everyone, well, tax bill and mistake seem to be.
I want to go with mistake. Allowed to, because that was what.
Yeah, that just means you're going to win.
Oh
No.
Oh, well, then, you know, let's make it sporting. Let's make it sporting. Oh, too late.
To reduce
What?
his tax
It was-
bill.
Really? So you can pay.
And
What
Roy
country
got
does he live
one
in? That
wrong.
you can
I
pay your
think- I
tax
think
bills
Roy's
in
got
Satan
6.
statues.
There we go, and that was question 7 out of 7. So, not a penny more, not a penny less was that was I think his first novel. Was it? First Among Equals, maybe. I don't know. There we go. Well, I think Roy takes the win for that.
I
So,
would think so,
congratulations, Roy. Let's get back to us. There we go. Oh, I've got to get another question for you. I've got quite a few questions actually, but I'll tell you what. We'll come back to those in a moment because I know you want to talk about something. I'm going to I step away for a few minutes, but I will be listening to you. I'm talking now about religious freedom laws. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I'll leave it with you. I'll be right back.
Oh, but you got to step away. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be listening though.
Okay. Okay. That's how we're going to start it. Okay, sure. I guess this is something that's been on my mind for a while because it seems like we have a context, especially in the United States, where there are a bunch of rules that we agree to follow, like you got to pay taxes on your income, and you really shouldn't beat your children to bruising, and you got to feed them. You shouldn't sell them to people to be married when they're 14 years old and things like that. But there's a real upsurge in these religious freedom laws in the states to where they say, well, as long as you have, it's part of your sincerely held religious beliefs, or it's part of your religious conscience that you wish to do these things, well, then that's okay. We're going to make an exception for that. And I used to kind of rail about this when we look at the various tax exemptions that they get. And I used to make the point that It seems to me that when you look at something like taxes, if I wanted to write a book where I'm going to use a Canadian example, if you don't mind, if I wanted to write a book about how the Calgary Flames are the best hockey team in the NHL, and you got to revere the Flames because they're just such a good hockey team. And if you wanted to buy that book, you would have to use some of your taxable income to give that money to me. And of course, I would have to pay tax. You have to pay sales tax on it. And I would have to pay tax on the revenue I generate from that book. And if somebody says, well, what is the book about? Well, it doesn't matter what the book's about. The point is there's a good or a service that's for sale, and that's why all these taxes apply. But in the specific case that the thing I've written this book about is unproven supernatural bullshit, then we have all these ways to get around the taxes. You can now take part of your taxable income to buy this book, and then you get a receipt, and now it's not taxable. You should do that through donation, of course. You would say, well, I'll give you a $40 donation, and I send you the book as a gift and a tax receipt. Thank you for your $40 donation. You now get that as a non-refundable tax credit against your income tax. The sales tax, there wouldn't be a sales tax on it. And of course, all the revenue that I make for my little church, I wouldn't have to pay income tax on that. And it all hinges on the necessary element that the thing that's being discussed in the book is unproven supernatural bullshit. That's the thing that gets you the exception. If you write something that's helpful, well then no, you don't get that exception. So this is something I had mentioned, I think 2 or 3 years ago on the Magic Sandwich Show. And I'd not realized how much it had spidered out, because now what we have, and we'll get into the specifics here in a moment, but just to sort of set people are making fun of the Oilers and the Edmonton Oilers in the chat now. Okay. Write a book about it. But now we're in a situation where it seems like it's not just about the taxes, it's just about everything. Because the religious people in the United States want to be able to excuse themselves from common sense, from common decency, to where if you beat your children, because they aren't Calgary Flames fans, well, then you'd get in trouble for that. But if you do it because you are exercising your religious conscience, well, then that's acceptable. To get more to the point now, the recent influx of these religious freedom bills is very specific about the things you're allowed to do. So I have to first touch on a principle that is true in all of our countries, in the U.S. and in Canada and in the UK, that we have these notions of civil rights. So we give people, their civil rights are extended to people on specified grounds, right? So that, everybody has civil rights, but there's particular protection for some groups. So for example, if you're a racial minority or you're LGBT or you have a disability, there's all these different grounds that set out that the government won't make policies that unfairly tread on you. And second to that notion is that if you're going to run a private business and you have a storefront, so there's a door you can push open and come into that store, you adopt part of that responsibility. So you can't open a restaurant in the US anymore with a sign out front that says whites only, or blacks eat elsewhere, or no Jews please. So once you have a storefront, you're now required to sort of respect this sort of generally understood thing about civil rights. But there's been a really strong push to excuse people on religious grounds, to where they say, if I want to discriminate because my faith says that I should not allow blacks or Jews or mixed race couples or same-sex couples or what have you, that's my freedom, right? I shouldn't have to do that. And of course, there have been many I say trials, they're usually tribunals or hearings, where people know the Sweet Cakes by Melissa thing, where they end up on the losing end of these things, right? You can't have a sign up, or you can't run your business in a way that doesn't respect people's civil rights, where they should get protection, and then say, oh, but I would prefer not to respect other people's civil rights. Well, you got to have a good reason for that. Oh, well, because I believe in some unproven supernatural bullshit. That's why I think I should be able to get away with it. And we've been telling, in response to cases like Sweet Cakes by Melissa, we've been telling them, well, why can't the guy down the road say, well, it's my religion that I think blacks are inferior, so I'm not going to serve them, right? Or I'm not going to serve mixed race couples. So now what we're seeing, and I'll wrap up on this point, what we're seeing is an influx of bills presented to state legislatures where the intent of the bill is to say you are permitted to exclude LGBT people from your businesses. You don't have to serve them as customers. You don't have to rent apartments to them. You can engage in any sort of discrimination against specifically LGBT people, so long as you are doing so out of expression of your religious conscience. So that's been the recent change, and I don't know if you had any additional thoughts to add to that, or if we get some thoughts from the audience, or if somebody wants to join us to either express their concern about it, or to maybe explain to me why I'm wrong to think that that's social policy lunacy. But DPR, did you have something you? I appreciate I'm sort of pouncing on you without a chance to review what I said I was going to complain about on the show. But do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, firstly, as you say, I know very little about it. It's not something that I've really been following. But just to remind people, if they do want to join us, they can send a Skype contact request to Magic Sandwich Show. We can get you on. You can send a Twitter to at the DPR Jones. The is all in capitals. I'm not sure whether it matters on Twitter. DPR Jones is lowercase. Or you, as you say, you can post comments. And KB says, my state did just this. I'm pissed. Yeah, I mean, it's a phenomena that I'm so unfamiliar with, and I imagine to a degree you are in Canada as well, because we live in countries where religion plays such little consequence in our lives. I mean, to the extent where, and this is a story we'll come on to later on in the show. The Pope questions Donald Trump's faith. And he's absolutely outraged by this. I don't know of any politician in this country that uses their faith as a sort of stepping stone for election. Most electors are just not interested in it at all. So it's a very strange phenomena for me to sort of like get my head around. But having been to America and having sort of like learned a little bit about it, obviously. Religion is incredibly important. Whilst I suspect Obama is an atheist, he certainly, I don't think, would have been elected if he'd stood on the grounds and publicly declared that he was an atheist. It does seem to be a step backwards, doesn't it? You've made reference to the civil rights movement and discrimination on the basis of colour. Religion just gets a free pass, doesn't it, in America?
Yeah. Well, let me read a couple of things that'll sort of set the context for it, because again, I appreciate. I'll ask you a question about, well, what do you think of the situation in Arizona, for example? We'll address that one specifically. But just to assist you with the context of it, I'm going to read a little bit of the Constitution Act for Canada and sort of tell you why we don't deal with this problem here. And then I'll tell you about a federal on the state. So let's start with the Canadian one. So this is the Constitution Act of Canada, which begins, whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law, Section 1, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees the rights and freedoms set out in its subject only to such reasonable limits prescribed by law as can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. So up front, we acknowledge the supremacy of God. And then Section 1 is a real key one, because it says we're going to list in Section 2, we're going to list all these different freedoms. And Section 1 is sort of the banner statement that says that the government will commit to respecting those rights and freedoms, subject only to such reasonable limits prescribed by law and can be demonstrably justified. And of course, this is, the Canadian Supreme Court spends a lot of their time interpreting what is meant by a reasonable limit, or something that can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. And consistently, so what you end up having in balance here, or sort of in conflict with each other, are, let's go to the Sweet Cakes by Melissa thing. Well, I want to run a business, and I want to run it on a municipal street where this, the city has put in water and sewer service and sidewalks, and through that means the government as a large body has contributed to the operation of my business. But I don't want to serve fill in the blank, whether it's Indians or Black people or mixed race couples or whatever else. Is it an undue hardship to get them to serve them? And the reason why we don't really deal with this in Canada is because what we've decided is that it's not a hardship. It is not. You don't have to go to a same-sex wedding if you don't want to. The government won't force you to do it. You don't have to officiate for a same-sex wedding. The government cannot force you to do such things. But if you have a business and you have a door with an open sign on it and somebody can push in, you have to take your customers as they come. It makes more sense that trying to hold the rights on balance between somebody having the right to engage businesses in a municipality and not be discriminated against, that is given an edge over this freedom of religion and conscience, and without change to that account of how Section 1 of the Charter functions, they're done. They're not going to try this kind of stuff in Canada. That's the context that prevents it here. The United States has. I'm looking for the bill. One of the viewers is going to have to remind me. It was a bill that Bill Clinton had signed. This is a federal law. It's called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. So this was passed from Congress in '93 to Clinton, and he signed it. And I'm just reading from the wiki page here to sort of refresh myself here, that the law mandates that religious liberty of individuals can be limited by the least restrictive means of furthering a compelling governmental interest. All of these Religious Freedom Restoration Acts make reference to placing a burden upon someone's religious expression. And so that's the context in the States, is that they say it's a little bit different, because what they're saying is that you cannot impose upon someone a duty that would serve to burden them in conflict with their freedom of religious expression. Let's take a quick look for the Arizona one here. We should clarify too that these are not, one of the mistakes people make when they look at issues like this is they start saying, oh, well, these guys passed a law, or now the law is this or the law is that. A lot of times what happens in the States, they get a lot of legislators that sort of will draft legislation that plays well in the sticks, right? They want to show the folks back home, hey, I'm here fighting for you. But these guys will write these bills that are goofy. They're simply not going to be able to pass muster in terms of integrating with existing legislation or past constitutional challenges. But it doesn't matter, because, shucks, I tried to put in that anti-gay legislation, the anti-sodomy legislation or whatever else. I tried, but then it didn't pass whatever other level. So for example, now in Arizona, we have SB, so this is referring to, it's a Senate bill, SB 1062, which is a bill, I believe it's actually passed the Senate now. So now it has to go to the lower house, to the legislature, for their review. And, people are kind of up in arms about it, because they're like, oh, well, these guys passed this law. Well, it's not a law. It's merely a bill that says this is what we want to do. And who knows if it's going to pass the legislature. And if it does, will the governor sign it? Who knows?
Are you saying that this has happened in other states, though?
Yeah, super quick tour here. So Arkansas has the of 2015, the Conscience Protection Act, that has it's designed to make sure governments cannot burden the free exercise of religion. That is July of 2015, so this is fairly new. Colorado has a proposed bill designed to make sure the governments cannot burden the free exercise of religion. That one was not passed, split along party lines. And there are similar things here. Again, I'm just even skimming the wiki page. You've got Georgia, Hawaii. Hawaii says that the bills that the government should not substantially burden religious exercise without compelling justification. There's 20 some states here that have pending legislation or legislation that was recently defeated. Where's the one here? I want to get back to the Arizona one. That is, so this law would prevent, would bar any law, including state and local laws, ordinances, rules, regulations, and policies from substantially burdening a person's exercise of religion. I want to get to the part where specifically, maybe I'm mixing up with the other one, the one that was specifically, I have got the wrong one. The one where it was specifically the, with regard to respecting the rights of homosexuals. I thought that was Arizona. I'll get it right. I don't know how to find it. It is Arizona. I just can't find the text of it.
Is this something that, if these bills are passed, can be challenged at the Supreme Court? And I noticed this week that its most right-wing member died. Is it Scalia or Scalia? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Scalia, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And already I note that because this has any appointment has to be agreed by Senate, which is Republically dominated at the moment. Any chance of Obama getting a Democratic or more liberal judge in could be scuppered, and in fact Trump is already calling for the Senate to basically delay until he wins and can nominate some incredibly right-wing sort of person. I don't know. There are just so many things about the American system, which, although many I love, others I just in despair at this. But I mean, I imagine that Canada has a similar legal framework in relation to discrimination as we do, in that discrimination on various grounds, there are 9 or 10, I can't remember, are deemed to be unlawful, and religious belief or lack thereof is one of them. Sexual orientation is another, and so on. So I mean, this sort of thing just wouldn't happen in this country. And indeed, I think it was last year, a gay couple who were refused a room at a bed and breakfast successfully sued the bed and breakfast owners on the basis of their discrimination. I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to multitask. If you're going to send me a contact request, please only do so if you want to be on the show and include what you want to talk about. If you just send me a contact request, I'm terribly sorry, and I'm now speaking to Ryan. I simply ignore it. So if you want to, you say do you mind adding me to the show? I'm sorry, I missed that bit. Sure. Just tell me what issue you were wanting to discuss, and we'll get you on.
We're once again too like-minded on this issue, because I think we're sitting in other countries kind of baffled by what's going on in the U.S. And I do my best to try to understand their justification for having these things. I would like it if somebody would come in to try to explain. I have had some hangouts with people who will try to explain their justification for it, that they think that their right to religious-based bigotry should trump any sort of social duty to provide, to respect the civil rights of other people. I've not really heard a good argument for it, but I mean, I think it would at least be a nice foil to what we're talking about if somebody could do so. I mean, you're correct that we don't really have that issue in Canada. And again, as I mentioned before, we had the luxury of waiting until the early 1980s before sitting down to draft a constitution. So we had the luxury of being able to look to the UK, to look to Commonwealth nations, and to look to the sort of happy and sad stories of what's happened over 200 years of history in the United States. and then frame our Constitution in a way that hopefully sort of debugged some of those problems we saw in other countries. So as I read out the framework to you before, there's a reason why I think that we're not going to sort of face those kind of problems. And to clarify, I don't think there's any legal, like any sort of statutory legislative mechanism to prevent people from hating other people or being bigots or simply adopting religions that are non-inclusive for some reason, and nor should there be, right? I mean, it's up front. It's like, was it the second one? I mean, I'll go back to it's the first one, Section 2A of the Constitution Act. Section 2 lists the fundamental freedoms, and it includes first one, 2A, is freedom of conscience and religion. Not that the ordering on that list, same thing with the Bill of Rights in the United States. It's not that the ordering on the list is meant to say like which one trumps the other, but just in terms of when they frame this thing, the first thing they thought of is individuals have to have the right to have their own thoughts and their conscience. We can't drag people kicking and screaming into inclusiveness. I guess there are people who are arguing for, like this whole no platform movement going on now. People shouldn't have the right to speak if you're going to say something that, is offensive or disagrees or whatever. That's a different issue. You still have the right in Canada, and certainly in the United States, even more so in the United States, the issue when it comes to violence, you have the right to set out a soapbox somewhere and start announcing about how, the Jews can't be trusted, or, whatever, lesbians are sinful, and read Romans 1, and, you're going to burn, and whatever else. You still have the right to that stuff. The restriction that sort of religious expression and run your business, conduct your business in that way. Sorry? I'm sure they got the gist of it, though I'm now getting messages from Skype saying that it's my internet connection is waffling. But no, okay.
And someone kindly reminds me that I muted myself. Yes, I did. Sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that people might have missed the last couple of sentences. And I certainly can't hear you at the moment.
Oh, I was just going to look for another example of one of these. I'm wondering if somebody would come in and explain to me the rationale. I mean, it's funny because I've been in hangouts with people who wanted to explain the rationale where they put religious freedom and conscience ahead of these other rights. They say, the Sweet Cakes by Melissa case, if I don't want to bake a cake for a same-sex couple, then I can bail from an existing contract and say, nope, I'm not making that cake. I know I've got a contract with you, but now that I know that you're a woman marrying a woman, we're done. I'm terminating that contract without notice, and it is neither a violation of your civil rights for me to do so, nor is it tortious or a breach. It's you breached the contract by being a lesbian. That's the way they look at it, because they almost want this. It's like in the game of Monopoly, the get out of jail free card. My connection. I don't know if you still heard that. I got another message from Skype. My connection's gone waffly. But they almost want a get out of common sense free card. That when they want to say, well, look, I'm an evangelical Christian, therefore I don't need to respect these people or those people. I'm trying to find some other examples of that. Are you likely to find someone that's? Oh, there we are.
Yeah, I found Ryan, who wants to join us to discuss what you're saying. I'm just going to see if I can get you. Just to rejig this. Do you want to mute yourself and make sure you're wearing headphones, if you wouldn't mind, Ryan? Let me just do a new screenshot, just so people can see everyone. Okay. I'm going to make sure your name doesn't appear, just in case you don't want it to be seen. Okay, there we go. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, I am in. Hogtie knows me. Ryan reacts. I was just listening to what you have been saying, and I kind of felt like I'd bring in a little bit if I can. I honestly think a good start point of this, the perspective here, is just kind of religious Americans being spoiled brats because they got treated so well during the Cold War as the Christian antithesis to the atheist communists. I'm not hearing anything.
We're hearing you. I don't know whether Hogtie has frozen or not. I know he's having
Okay.
internet problems. We'll try and get him back. I'm just seeing if there's somebody else who wants to join the call. But to fill in the time whilst we're waiting for Hogtie to come back, now got no answer.
Well, one of the things that I've in this country that we have that really annoys me is religious exemption laws when it comes to work. For instance, someone who works at a drugstore can choose out of their conscience not to sell products that they believe are against their moral principles. Like, they can refuse to sell birth control pills, even if they're
Wow.
prescribed.
Sorry, I am trying my best to listen, but I'm also trying my best to multitask to bring Fiona Robertson into the call, which I think we've done, although she doesn't seem to have got headphones in, so we're getting a bit of feedback. Fiona, if you can hear us, can you put headphones in? And certainly mute Vaughan if you're watching Vaughan or YouTube Live. I'll give you a few minutes to sort this out, but you're stuck. Oh, that's... Well, at least we don't
I
have...
didn't know it was going to come through on Skype,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
so I'm completely stopped.
So,
Yes,
right,
I've got everything
I'm-
muted. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's fine. Ryan, I was just wondering... let me see if I can just bring Hogtie back into the call. I'm sorry about this, everyone, but it wouldn't be the Magic
you able to
Sandwich
hear
Show
me at all?
without... Yes, we can hear you. Can you not hear us?
We can hear you. We can hear you, Fiona. You sound great as usual.
Ryan, what I was going to ask you is it safe to say that you are you're living in America at the moment?
Yes, it's Pennsylvania.
Are you able to hear me?
What? I don't think Fiona can hear what we're saying. Unfortunately, we might have to remove her. What do you make of the sort of like the difference that Hogtie and I have just been discussing about the importance of religion in America as compared to Canada and United Kingdom?
Well, there's so much going on in this country as I've looked around and kind of studied some of the European culture that I've seen is so much different, and I can't help but feel a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with is you guys are a little to blame because it feels like you've kind of exported your religious nuts from the 1800s.
Oh, come on! That was a
they've
few
grown
hundred
up.
years ago. I don't think you can blame us for that.
But they grew the culture out of here, and it's the idea that the rest of the world takes August off, and America acts like that's some horrible lazy thing, and it's some sort of innate good to work regardless of if you're getting paid or if you can make a living, and the idea of almost vacation is almost you know of just sitting around and doing nothing is not a benefit or anything, which I mean, you're not accomplishing anything, but you're also not doing any harm, so it's at least a neutral, I would say. But I mean, the it's gotten so bad with the religious freedom stuff. Is some of the states who have come up with anti-bullying legislation have put exemptions in them for religious beliefs, which means, all you have to do if you're a bully is say, well, it's my religious belief that gays are bad, therefore I can make fun of the stupid faggot all I want.
I mean, it does seem to me that it follows remorselessly that if you allow that sort of discrimination in relation to the example that Hogtie was giving, making a cake, it does seem that it has the potential to be extended into other areas as well.
Yeah,
Including, for example, the one that you've used.
yeah, I mean that's one of the whole reasons I started getting more involved in the online debating stuff is because I've become concerned as I've seen the issue over climate change. We've actually got a senator in charge of our science committee who will say we don't need to worry about climate change because God is up there protecting us.
Yes.
He goes.
It's kind of disturbing, isn't it?
Yeah, he's gone on the floor of the Senate with a snowball, saying, "Hey, that disproves global warming. There's snow in February in Washington D.C., so there's your global warming right there." And just seeing all this stuff, I've actually it's kind of inspired me for a long time. I've thought about going back to school into the sciences and doing something that direction. I wasn't sure what to do specifically. I'm going to either go into chemistry or physics, and if I'm able to put a job together and get my stuff together, I might break off from the sciences into politics to try and bring a scientific ideology and perspective more to American politics, because I feel like that's got left out. I think big part of America's issue is we have too many Christians and lawyers, and Christian lawyers is a bad combination in my opinion.
Be careful what you say about lawyers.
Christian theocratic lawyers is not a good trio of traits.
Be careful what you say about lawyers. They're not all bad.
No, but the Christian theocratic ones are pretty terrible.
Oh, I certainly wouldn't disagree with that. Sorry, I'm just trying to recapture the screenshot, and hopefully Hogtie will be with us again shortly.
I think I'm back.
Oh yeah, your video's just not on.
Oh,
and now it's changed again. Hang on.
Now Fiona's gone, it looks like.
Oh, this is the good old days of the Magic Sandwich Show. Let me just add the screen capture again. I just want to make sure you're all seen. I'm guessing Fiona may come back, so we'll nope, we'll just leave her out for now. Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you, but we can't see you, Hogtie. But do carry on.
Okay. Part of the problem is it. Well, I'll turn the camera off. Miss Janet. I'll turn this back on. I had to restart my router. It was clear we're having some sort of local connection problems here. No video. Oh, there we are. Maybe.
Well, I can't see it. It doesn't matter. We've got a pretty good idea what you look like. So.
All right.
Were you able to hear what Ryan was saying?
I was not. The whole thing went down completely.
Ryan, do you want to summarize briefly what you were?
I talked a bit about some of the American laws, like the religious exemption laws that allow professionals to avoid doing certain jobs within their task if it conflicts with their religious beliefs, like refusing to sell birth control if you're a pharmacist. That's allowed. And then I've mentioned some of the stuff involving, bullying laws, where someone can defend themselves as a bully by saying, hey, it's my religious beliefs. I believe homosexuality is wrong. Therefore, I can now bully. It's actually an anti-bullying law that gave the bullies an out if they just cite their religious beliefs.
Which state's that in, or which states?
Michigan passed it. I'm not quite sure what other ones. I know other states have proposed it. I'm not sure how far it's gotten in others.
And are you able to tell us how they are defining bullying?
It's generally playground stuff, I think, for the most part. But I'm not quite sure of everything. I haven't looked at the law closely. to be perfectly
I mean,
honest.
it just sounds it sounds extraordinary because if you keep on taking these incremental steps, where is it going to end? That homosexuals can be and should be stoned to death. I'm sure even the batshit crazy people in America aren't going to agree to that. But I mean, it seems to follow logically that that could be an outcome if they're justifying everything on their religious beliefs. Oh yeah, I stoned this bloke to death, but that's because I believe what the Bible tells me to do.
Let's see, where was that? There's an image here I'm going to try and find, which I think is very well done and very informative as far as our current American political scene. I'm going to share screens really quick.
Sure, but before you do so, I've got to have, because the Skype images has shuffled around again, I've just got to recapture you.
All right.
There we go, we'll try that. Yep.
All right. Yeah, this here is an image of a organization that graphs. You can take a test and graph your own political alignment based upon a 4-quadrant political view. And this is a graph of the major candidates in the United States. The orange ones are the Republicans, the blue ones are the Democrats. And as you can see, is it coming through?
Yep, perfectly.
Pretty much the entire Republican field are extreme authoritarian right-wing, up there with some of the most pretty close to your extreme theocrats and just generally horrible people. The only one
I note that Clinton's in there.
Yes, that's the thing with Americans. Barack Obama is not far away from that either. The only candidate that we've had in a long time who's a true worldwide progressive or liberal would be Bernie Sanders, probably, which is part of the reason why he's gotten so much momentum from his base or from the Democratic groups. And unfortunately, the establishment
he lost
is killing
he lost narrowly in Nevada, didn't he?
Yeah, he lost. I wasn't quite sure of the margin of victory.
I think it was 47% to 50. Would that make sense? To 52%.
Yeah,
it's
I
around
it was,
that.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Democratic establishment has been working really hard to kill his chances of election because they're the establishment party. They're still corporatist Democrats for the most part. Unfortunately, oligarchy is very strong right now.
Just as a matter of interest, how do you think things are going to pan out? Do you think it's going to be a Trump-Clinton fight? It seems to be that going that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna. Right now, that's what I'm leaning towards. That's what I'm guessing. I sincerely hope that's not the way it winds up. What it winds up becoming, but it seems more and more like we're heading in that direction. My preference would be, well, I guess for the Republicans, Rubio is probably the best choice, even though he's kind of a shill, but they're all shills except for crazy Trump. I don't know what the hell he'd do. And of course, I do prefer Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side because he's,
But if it was a fight between Trump and Sanders, I worry that Trump may win. Even though I would like to see him, I suspect Clinton's got a better head-to-head chance.
Actually, when they do the polling head-to-head specific candidates, Bernie Sanders actually does better against every one of the Republicans than Hillary does. Bernie Sanders is actually a better candidate against the Republicans in head-to-head matchups across the board. Some of them, like Ricky Rubio, Hillary Clinton actually loses to, and Bernie Sanders trounces him in some of the polls. The thing is, what's going to happen is if it's, I'm not sure how familiar you are with past American elections, but when Vietnam was going on and someone ran against Lyndon Johnson for the White House, when Lyndon Johnson was coming back for re-election in the primary, someone actually ran against him to be the more progressive candidate who would stop the war in Vietnam. What happened was he got beat, and as a result, the Democratic base stayed home on election night, and that got Nixon elected. And I'm worried that if Hillary becomes the candidate, that's what we're going to have again, is the Democratic base is going to be fucking sullen and pissed, and that's going to lead to President Trump.
Well, I don't know how often you watch this show or my appearances on some Hangouts, but I've over the last few months been prepared to take on bets with people that Trump will not be the next president of the United States, and I've stopped offering that bet now. I think it would be deeply, deeply disturbing if he were. I just can't imagine what on earth he would get up to.
Part of me looks forward to it just for the sheer comedy of it. Like having a hilariously bad president is fine. I mean, you don't live in the country. Of course, the rest of the world should be alarmed because of their position in the world. And of course, with regard to Canada, our trade relationship with them, we've got to sort of get along with them. But I'd have to admit, part of me does find it funny when they have a goofy president. And Trump would be just top drawer for goofy presidents.
I've even taken notice. It seems like a lot lately in our political president on the Republican side, the presidential elections seem to require someone stupid on the ticket somewhere. You had Sarah Palin, you had George Bush, Dan Quayle. There's always either the president or the vice president seems like a fucking moron half the time, just about every time. The only time I can make an exception was Romney and Paul Ryan, and even they're kind of questionable, in my opinion.
So you must excuse me. Do fill in the time. I'm getting lots of messages about people who might want to join us or not. I'm just trying to work it out.
Okay. Well, let me maybe add another point. As I initially started by talking about religious exemptions to taxation requirements, then religious exemptions for treating people with respect and dignity, respecting their civil rights. Even more heinous than that is the religious exemption for beating your children or getting them health care. This is something that really, really shocks me. There's one way I recognize that the Americans are different from Canadians. I mean, here there was a conviction. Concordance brought this up a few episodes ago, where there was a conviction in Calgary for a woman that did not get health care for her daughter. And I was making the point then that you really have no excuse here, because if your kid has pain in an ear, not often, but sometimes they lose hearing in that ear. They can go deaf from it. And it's a stressful moment for parents when they have to sit there and go, well, to take this kid to see a doctor or to the emergency room to get some antibiotics, it costs us $425 just to show up. Whereas for this woman in Calgary, and it wasn't an ear infection, it was much more serious than that. I think she died of meningitis. I may misremember the story, but there is simply no excuse for it because of the single payer system. If your kid is sick, you got to take them in. You can't go to a court later and say, oh, but we're really short of money and whatnot. It just has to be done. But there's always a push for these religious exemptions that, like, well, look, we have a particular subset of Christian beliefs where, in our view, you shouldn't go to doctors. You should deal with this stuff through prayer. And the same sort of reasoning, and I should say too that it's not just that people go to court and they offer this as an excuse. There are people in legislatures that want to entrench this as a fundamental right of people to refuse to take their kids to doctors. Specifically for religious reasons. If you have some other reason, if you have some conspiracy theory about how doctors are bad, that's too bad. You still have to take your kid to a doctor. But if it's specifically a religious reason, then yeah, you don't have to take your kids to a doctor. And we should get onto the child marriage thing too. That's a nutty one.
Well, I think a big part of it is a lot of people understand the concept of freedom of religion, but not necessarily freedom from religion. I think that might be a huge caveat that's necessary in the conversation as well.
Now, I wonder how many Americans would be shocked to look at their laws around the minimum age for entering into marriage. People might remember from a Magic Sandwich Show from this past summer when I talked about what documents we had to provide for our wedding, including a statement that that we weren't coerced, that one of us was not the property of the other. All these things to demonstrate that we were entering into this marriage consensually. Plus, we had to provide documentation that we were old enough to get married. This is not the case in a lot of the U.S. states. They will have things like a minimum age for entering into marriage, usually 16 or 18, or your parents can sign the form if you're older than say 14. Or I think it was in Kentucky where it's 12, and in those cases they don't. It's not the case that you can get married. You come forward and put in an application for a marriage license, and then, oh, you're too young, so you have to sign here. Plus, you got to get your parents to consent. The parents can consent to the marriage without the child's consent in many of these states. I think Virginia is one of those states where you don't need the person getting married doesn't need to provide a statement saying that they weren't coerced or sold or the property of the other person. And this is something we generally associate with, old world countries where these weird religious practices of dowry or, even outright selling people into marriage and whatnot. That's something they do over there, and we're way more enlightened over here. But no, this isn't some wacky religion that's doing this. This is evangelical Christianity in 21st century United States.
And Orthodox Judaism.
And Orthodox Judaism? Okay, I hadn't seen that, but they would qualify for that exception too. And that's the thing is it's not merely in some cases it's not simply that you say, well, look, I'm a parent and I do want to sell my kid into child marriage. You can do so only in some of these states. I believe it's Virginia is the one I'm thinking of here. That you can do so like an atheist couldn't do it. You can do so if you say, oh, I know that you don't want like 14-year-olds to marry, but it's part of our religion that we allow 14-year-olds to marry. If I go in and say, well, it's my personal opinion, based on whatever justification I might provide, that this is an okay way to do these things. It has to be you go in and say, it's part of my firmly held, BS supernatural religious beliefs that we should be marrying off our 14-year-old daughter. And then they go, okay, great, sign here.
Yeah, come to think of it, it reminds me of a story I heard. I think it was in Northern California. Someone was arrested for human trafficking, and the way that the cops caught him, apparently after he sold his daughter to be married to some other guy, the other guy didn't provide all of the money, all the items that were supposed to have been provided. So the guy who sold his daughter ended up going to the cops and explaining the situation to him. So they arrested everyone involved.
How old was the child?
I don't remember, but I do remember the one part that sticks out is one of the items that the guy never received were like 2 cases of beer.
This is I'm sorry to be prejudicial, I guess. This has got to be in one of the deep South states, hasn't it?
No. This is like the rural area of Northern California.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. No, but remember, he didn't get away with it, right? Everybody else, they got in trouble for that, right? So I mean, we got to distinguish between situations where somebody thinks, well, look, this is my religious belief, this is what I'm going to do, and they get in trouble for it, and it goes through the courts, and the person gets landed on with both boots, versus places like Virginia, where they say, we're going to allow such things, such exemptions, by legislation, right? So for example, this story in Virginia of a man in the early 50s marrying a 15-year-old girl. When the police went, hey, what's going on here? He was able to successfully argue the religious exemption because it's entrenched in the statutes. The senator that's sort of in Virginia, the Senator Vogel, she's working to, like, we need to tighten these laws up. According to her office, that the state health statistics show that about this is between 2000 and 2018, about 4,500 minors were married in that 13-year period, including 220 who were 15 years or younger and entered into those marriages. They're 15 years or younger, and they were entered into those marriages without consent of that child. I mean, I don't know what it means that, what does it mean to get consent from a 14-year-old to enter into a marriage? But the point is they didn't try because they don't even have to get their consent.
So I thought Fiona was trying to speak then. If she was, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Very
Hearing
quiet,
about
very
10%
quietly.
gain. You're going to have to go all true empiricism on that microphone because we can't hear you.
Okay, how's that?
Better.
Much better.
Right. Yes, I'm doing a true empiricism. I'm just a bit swollen it. Right. I was going to just mention one thing, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper while I was watching you earlier. And I was so angry that my pen went through the paper. And I'm thinking about the way in America they're putting so much energy into this freedom of religion because they don't want to be forced to conduct the marriage of a same-sex couple. If they put as much energy into dealing with the lead in the water crisis in Flint, they wouldn't have poisoned 12,000 children. It's the amount of energy they're wasting this when it's between two consenting adults who already have the freedom to practice their own religion. They don't have the freedom to ram it down anybody else's throat. And it's still not good enough, apparently. And to waste that amount of energy, when, quite frankly, there are other much bigger fish to fry, I'm quite frankly lost.
You don't seem to understand. It makes them feel icky. And as far as I can tell, that's the extent of their bullshit.
Yeah, I just can't fathom this. I seriously cannot fathom this. Just like I cannot fathom this right to withhold medical treatment from a neonate who is dying of pneumonia and septicemia, and instead it's fine for the church elders to all pray around about it. This boggles my mind.
Well, I know that, I mean, I shouldn't say I know this. In my view, I think part of the problem lies in their entire political process, where I referred to this earlier in the episode without really elaborating, because I know I've referred to it in previous ones, and I try to leave it to the Americans to explain it. But there's a lot of their legislative effort that goes into writing bills that play well in the sticks. They really want to show people back home, look, I tried to, with these evil gays that want to come in and, sit in your restaurants. And a lot of times those legislators know that those bills are dud bills, that they're not going to pass the Senate, or the governor is simply going to veto it. But it doesn't matter. But no, they're at a time when to the point though is that under other legislative or parliamentary systems, people who do stuff like that don't survive the next election, right? If you have a legislator in Canada, for example, who is known for doing these sort of time-wasting bills, they're not necessarily welcome to return. Now, of course, the problem is we still have a party system where if the Conservative Party has somebody who is one of these time wasters, for example, I'm sure the Liberal Party and NDP Party has the same problems, but if you want to vote for your party, for the Liberals or whoever, and you get someone who's a time waster, well, you're still going to vote for your party. So it's a bit of a problem that way, but it just doesn't seem to be as culturally entrenched in other countries as it is in the US for people to just make these goofy bills. And the other problem with these religious freedom restoration things is the title of the bill sounds great. Religious people say, yeah, you know what? We should have religious freedom. Well, guess what, people? You have religious freedom. It is guaranteed right up front. It's the first thing in the amendments to your Constitution. So you don't need a state level act that establishes religious freedom or restores religious freedom is guaranteed in the amendments to your Constitution. But when you actually go and look and see what's in those bills, it's not about general religious freedom, because you have religious freedom. It's about specific religious freedoms for people of a specific religion, usually, and to do very specific things, like not take your kid to a doctor, or to not respect the civil rights of one specific group, namely always the LGBT group. So it's, in my view, it's kind of a structural problem with how bills are presented and debated, and how those people being elected and how they're funded, how they present themselves to the folks back home. I think it's a real structural problem there.
And another big part of the problem has become the just population disparities. So many of the times when someone intelligent goes to college is from Wyoming or the rural states, they'll get an education, realize a lot of the stuff that they knew back home was utter crap, and rather than go back home and try and spread the knowledge, they stay where they are, or go to the big city and try and actually live a life rather than go back to home, which just drives their areas back down more and more. And like Wyoming has about 500,000 people. New York State has 20 million, yet they both have the same representation in the Senate. That's been a problem. Is never before in U.S. history has so few people controlled so much power as far as the Senate goes.
But am I right in thinking, for example, that in relation to the presidential elections, the majority of states can be coloured in from the get-go, and there are effectively about 6 swing states that actually determine the outcome?
Oh yeah, I'd go at this point. I'd go far enough to say it's probably the majority of states. Right, I can already tell you right now, Texas is going to go Republican. Oklahoma will go Republican. Virginia probably. Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, all those are already guaranteed red states. There's a couple states that are pretty much guaranteed blue: Massachusetts, New York, California, stuff like that.
I mean, what's interesting, or what I think is interesting, perhaps, is the geographical locations of the red states and the blue states. I mean, pretty much all along the bottom, you're red, unless you include California. The majority of blues are all up in the northeastern areas. And then as I say, you've got a couple of swing states that may make all the difference.
Ohio, Florida, a couple others, yeah.
And of course, I still think it's one of the most wonderful expressions I've ever heard. Comes out of the was it the 2000 election with Al Gore and the Florida and the hanging chads. An expression that I mean, I'm sure it's very descriptive and accurate, but I always loved that expression. And again, there you had an appeal for a recount on the basis of hanging chads, and it was a Republican judge. I just don't see, and I mean, in this country, judges are not elected or not put in position by virtue of their political affiliations, and I'm sure if any attempt was made to do that, there would be an outcry.
Yeah, well, it used to not be that case here, but unfortunately, everything has become politicized. It's gotten so bad now. You can even find polling based upon certain restaurants are conceived to be Democratic and others are conceived to be Republican, and different stores and different this and different that. Everything seems to be slowly getting politicized, and it's not even about ideology to some extent, as far as I'm aware. It's about go team go. I mean, to me, it's almost you guys are from across the pond. It's almost like the Republicans are some Manchester United hooligans. In the North, I don't know any other football teams, and so
Oh, in
just
the
pick another
north, you could you could have Sunderland, you could have
pick a rival.
Newcastle, you could have Middlesbrough.
But I think you get the idea there, right?
Yeah.
It's more about just team sports and getting in my guy winning. You've seen it a lot since Obama's gotten elected. Republicans will propose an idea. Obama will say that's a good idea, and then they'll come out against their original idea because now Obama supports it. The other team says it's a good idea, therefore it's a bad idea now.
Is Obama going to be able to do anything constructive in his last year? I mean, obviously, the expression "lame duck" applies normally to the last couple of months, but given the Republican majority in Congress, he's not really going to be able to do anything, is he?
There are things he could do if, I hate to use the coarse language, but if he had the balls to do it. I read a story long ago about Teddy Roosevelt, who wanted to do some like war game training exercises way away from the United States, just in general vicinities of other countries, just so that they could get a little view of America's power. And the Congress refused to fund it, and he looked into his own personal bank accounts and said, "Hey, look, I have the money to send our Navy halfway around the world on my own dime. I'm the commander-in-chief. I can do it. So, unless you want our huge Navy stuck right off the coast of China, you might want to do this for me." Now, what I was thinking Obama could do with stuff like Guantanamo Bay, he could basically tell the Republicans to do something about that. He's a millionaire at this point. He's got plenty of money. He could send them all home on his own dime. Either he could tell the Republicans, just kind of strong arm them, tell them do something where they're all going home, even the ones who might be guilty of something.
Fiona, what do you think? It's something I'm going to come on to shortly, which is the peace rating of different countries, which I think will be interesting. But would you feel comfortable, Fiona, living in America?
Apart from the sun in California, no, I wouldn't.
What for you would be the biggest issue?
For me, the political system is absolute travesty. As Ryan pointed out, you can have the Republicans coming up with an idea. Obama says, "What a good idea." The Republicans go against it. And it's one-upmanship. It's got nothing to do with the well-being of the people of the country. And it's all about holding on to political power and stuff the people, basically. Just they're forgotten about. And also, I would have real problems with the religious attitudes in America. The divisive, somewhat bigoted views that quite a few seem to hold, not all, in trying to impose their religious ideals on others.
I have to say that I hadn't been to America until I went to the Reason Rally, which I think someone may have to correct me, was 2011. And I've been every year since then, normally either to see friends and or visit a particular atheist convention. And I have to say that I absolutely love America. I think it's great. And I think with one exception, out of the hundreds of people that I've met, They're incredibly kind, generous, intelligent, wonderful people. But it may be that's just because of the places that I've been to. I don't know. I think probably my favourite place was Austin, which, so far as I understand, is a sort of like an oasis of sanity and decency in an otherwise sort of like crazy state. But Austin is absolutely fantastic. I'd love to go there. The one reason that I probably won't be able to is because of their medical health policy. Because I'm diabetic, I don't think I'm not sure I'd, as an outsider coming in, so to speak, I'm not sure what the position would be. I don't think I would get the free healthcare that I get in this country, and I think that it would probably be, unless I got an incredibly high salaried job, which is unlikely. I don't see that it would be feasible. But I certain parts of America, I haven't been to all of them, so I can't comment about all of them. But there are certain parts that I would have absolutely no problem whatsoever, despite the crazy nature and the crazy things that I see going on. I would have no problem living there at all.
Well, you see, on the face of it, neither would I. I mean, I would love to be able to just emigrate to California, Northern California for me. I love it. But I think the big difference is when you go for your holiday, or you don't pay any attention to the politics going on round about you. You don't have to worry about what your local municipal authority is up to. But I think if you live there, and so you end up, you've got no choice but to be subjected to the politics that go on, then I think it would be a different story.
Well, I have a reasons why I don't even visit. I mean, we're talking about whether you'd want to go live there, live and work, and have your home and do your healthcare and stuff there. I don't even visit the U.S. For two reasons, and the first one I'll have to admit is a bit irrational because the probability is so low. But the level of violence, the fact that they shoot at their own police, I would not want to ever, for any reason, accidentally engage a police officer, because they're prepared for the worst at all times. I mean, there's I forget the name of the channel now.
Whilst you're trying to remember that, I've had one engagement with an American police officer, and it was when we were pulled over driving to Salt Lake City. And we were in the state of Utah, not that far away, and we were pulled over, and there was Aaron, myself, his two kids, and True Puka, and the officer was incredibly decent and courteous, and had pulled up behind Aaron's car, which had two bumper stickers on, which were very atheist orientated and anti-Christian. And whilst he was doing the checks, he cannot but have seen these. And as I say, he treated us absolute decency, courtesy, and whatever. So I don't know. I think there was a difference between that one experience that I've had and the people I meet when I get off the plane. I don't know what are they called, immigration officers, or there's a different name for them, I think, in America.
U.S. Customs Service. Yeah,
something like that. And they have been the most offensive and troublesome people ever. But I guess they probably have a very boring job. But I've also, again, with one exception, never encountered any violence. I'm sure, as I say, I'm fortunate in the places that I've been to. But all I can say is, from my experience, I would have no problem whatsoever in living in America. Safe perhaps for this fact. Having lived in this country for so long, I'm used to sort of like cold and wet, rainy weather. And the last time I went, last year, I stopped off in Florida, and amongst other things, went off to see Coctopus, Coctopus Prime, as he's known, or Coctopus, and we went to a alligator park, and the temperature was just so much and the humidity was so much. I couldn't get halfway around it without saying I've got to get back in the car and get some air conditioning on. I just simply couldn't deal with a really hot hot summer in America.
If the heat's too much for you, Minneapolis will be glad to have you.
Well,
I don't know if you've ever been there.
I haven't, no. Where have I been? I've been to Washington, I've been to Salt Lake City, I've been to Las Vegas, I've been to Austin, Washington, D.C., Florida. All of them. As I say, I've started going almost on an annual basis, and I absolutely love it. Oh, of course, Texas with Aaron last year as well.
I'm a supporter of my original home state because it feels like it's one of the few bastions of sanity in the United States. So, hog tie, dip your toe in sometime. Just take a boat to Duluth, Minnesota. Just get a feel for it. It's a lovely town. You'll have a great time, I promise you.
Well,
I don't mind the northern states so much, Montana and I don't know. I don't mind. Washington State's really nice. I don't mind. It's just the customs thing is a bit of an issue. That was the second reason I was going to cite, is this idea that, like, if you're visiting and it's like, oh, that's a nice watch. Well, it's probably proceeds of drug trafficking. I'm going to take that from you, and then how do you get it back? Like, it's just, again, I appreciate that's not the norm. I'm sure you can travel to and from the States 100 times without ever having that as a problem. But just.
Well, I've never experienced that, but I do want to. Sorry, Fiona, do go on.
The only time I had any problem when I was in the States was in Anaheim, Los Angeles. And would you believe it was a Disneyland bus driver who tried to call security on us because he claimed we ran around the back of the bus to get on it, and tried to drag my son, who was 7, off the bus head first.
Well, you are. No, I won't say that. But...
And when I spoke to him and said, no, we didn't run round the bus, he asked me to speak in English. and despite all the passengers round about explaining, no, she got on the right side of the bus, they didn't run round the back. He was adamant, and he was calling security on us. And he wanted us off that bus with our hands against the bus, as if we were going to be frisked down.
Well,
that's the only bad experience I had.
Yeah.
With the actual police, I think the first time I went out there, all I had to do was bat my eyelashes. I was very young at the time, and I was able to get a picture of me in a police car with the lights flashing. But that was back in the late 80s, and I think it's changed since then.
Well, I was going to refer in any event, and it seems to be a suitable segue to move into it. I don't know whether you or any of the audience are familiar with what's referred to as the Global Peace Index, which is an index that is produced by the Institute for Economics and Peace. I don't know where they're based. Now, I'm going to, no, I won't give you the answer. There are 163 different states that have been analysed. Let's start with you, Hogtie. Where do you think Canada features in the list between 1 and, I'd say, 600 and 163?
What is the index? What things?
Well, it actually lists its methodology and the criteria that it takes into account. There are too many for me to read. There are actually 22 different criteria, but they include, for example, the number of external and internal conflicts fought, the number of deaths from organised conflict. Those are the top two. The political terror scale, the number of homicides per 100,000 people, the level of violent crime. Those are sort of in the middle, and towards the bottom you get things like ease of access to small arms and light weapons. Financial contribution to the United Nations peacekeeping missions, and so on. So there are, as I say, 22 factors. So
it includes access to weapons, and it's not just about our presentation in the world, but about how we interact with each other within our own borders. Access to small arms is getting trickier. I don't want to, and just I guess the level of violence that we impart on each other, it's got to easily, I'd say, in the top 5. I think if we factor in what goes on in the National Hockey League, it's probably going to bump us down a peg or two. Actually, the guys punch teeth out of each other's heads. Hockey is probably going to hurt us a bit. I'd still go with the top 5. I would say number 5.
So is this scale 1 the least violent or 1 the most violent?
This was a rank. Forgetting what the score is, I'm going by rank.
1 is the least violent. Number 163 is the most violent. Hogtie's put Canada at number 5. Does anyone want to offer a different answer? Higher or lower?
I have a hard time thinking of anybody that's too much better, so
I'd say lower than 5.
Okay.
As in better than 5.
Put a number on it.
4.
Ryan?
I'll go. I'm gonna play the Jeopardy card. No.
Price is Right.
Price is Right, and I'm gonna go with 3.
I'll tell you what. You went the wrong way. According to the 2015 figures, Canada actually features at number 7. So you were close. Now, I'll give it prizes go for anyone, and this includes people in the chat. Prizes go for anyone that can name any country above Canada, which means the top 6.
You were good to interrupt me because I was just about to do that. But I'm gonna wait because I'll tell you.
And if anyone gets number 1, they get an extra bonus.
When can I'm bursting to say it.
Go on.
I'm gonna Iceland, absolutely.
Yep.
People forget about Iceland.
Absolutely, Iceland is number 1.
Yeah, I just watched, and it's funny that came up because I just watched a bunch of tourism videos about what it's like to travel in these different countries. And this guy he's an American. He was describing what it's like to travel in Iceland. Iceland's a totally different culture. You would think you're on another planet with just like the nicest species of humanoids ever. The thing is, I mean, Canada has the reputation of being nicey nice, but we do shoot each other, and we do get into fist fights, and we stab each other now and again. It does happen.
Okay,
but
all right. Because we're running short of time. Anyone want to have another go at any country above Canada in position number 7?
I want to make 3 quick guesses.
Go
Sweden,
on.
Finland, and Norway.
I'll give you Finland at number 6.
Okay.
But you're kind of, Scandinavian countries don't do too badly, but that's the only sort of one that's in there.
The Netherlands.
No, they're number 20.
Oh.
It is okay.
But again, when you say Netherlands, you're very close to number 2.
I'm thinking about Belgium.
14.
Oh dear.
Liechtenstein.
Doesn't feature in the top 20, and I don't want to scroll down just yet. I'll tell you what they are. Number 2 is Denmark. Number 3 is Austria. Number 4 is New Zealand. Number 5, I'm surprised I didn't go for this one, Switzerland. 6 Finland, 7 Canada, 8 Japan, 9 Australia. Now, where do you think that the United Kingdom's features?
Ooh.
You guys are kind of crowded. It's snug. Knife violence is a problem there.
In some areas, yes. Yeah.
And you occasionally do jump in with America's BS on the international stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'd want to say top 25.
No, I don't like Howard either.
We're running short of time, so come on. It's all a bit of fun. Give me a number.
Okay, you guys go first.
It's
It's
either one. It's somewhere between 1 and, well, it's not between 1 and 8. It's somewhere between 8 and 163.
28.
8 and 100.
28 from Ryan.
30.
Fiona, higher or lower?
35.
35. Hog
really?
tie.
I said 30, but
30. Anyone in the
I'm
audience?
hearing Fiona say that. Yeah,
People in the audience
30.
are going around 30, 29th. Someone went 45. I think 45 actually is closest because we are... Is it closest? Yes, it is. 39th. Now, here's the interesting question.
Well, I said 35, did I not?
Did you? Oh, in that case, you
Yeah.
won. All right. It's only a game, Fiona. Don't get violent. I know which city you live in. I was born there
I'll pull out
myself.
my potato gun and shoot you.
Now, the interesting question, of course, is where does the United States fit in?
How many countries are ranked in this?
163.
It was 163, yeah.
I'm gonna say 162.
62. I'll go with 75.
75,
Yeah, somewhere
162.
around Mozambique.
Fiona,
I'll go with 110.
well, again, I think Roy Batty has got... Oh, actually, no, it's incredibly close. I think Roy's just beaten you because he's gone for 80, and the actual answer is, let me just check. Where have I gone too far, haven't I? No. 94. So he was 14 away and you were 16 away. So Roy is whipping everyone's ass today. Roy, congratulations. Now, again, just very quickly, can you name any of the bottom 5?
Somalia,
Yes.
Yeah.
Saudi
When was
Arabia.
it?
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Actually, Somalia's 6th from bottom.
Oh.
But I, you're so close. I'll give you a point for that.
What year is this?
This is
I'm going to go Syria if
2015.
it's 2015. That's what I thought you said. Yeah. Syria, yeah.
Syria is the lowest.
Syria,
And I was wrong. It's
Afghanistan.
162 states, not 163. But yes, Syria is the bottom. So
Where's Nigeria? Where's Nigeria?
Oh, Nigeria is 151. So definitely not the...
Considering
bottom
what's
5.
become of it lately, Iraq.
Oh, come
might be
on.
there.
Where have the latest wars been? Come on, this is easy.
I said
Iraq.
Syria and Afghanistan. Or Iraq, that's it, yeah. It's
Iraq.
Iraq.
Yeah, that's the bottom 3. Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. And the other 2 in the bottom 5 are South Sudan and the Central African Republic. So I have to say that I think Libya, someone's put in Libya. Libya actually is 149. So
But
someone's put in Legoland. Now, I've been through this and I can't find Legoland. I can imagine that Legoland could be a very, very nasty place.
Any Americans watching who are feeling about our place, don't worry. President Trump will make sure we make 163 by the end of his first term.
Well, I'm not entirely sure that in the criteria, the 22 criteria that are used, wall building actually features. But if it did,
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I get the impression from this guy. He might come. He seems nutty enough. He might come up with one day with a random idea to invade Ontario. I don't know.
well, you never know.
Declare-
Right, seeing as we started a few minutes late, we'll carry on for a little bit. The next question relates to 3 major stories concerning the Pope and the Vatican in the last week. Who can name them?
look,
One we've
can name
discussed
two.
already, so I kind of can't allow you to do that, and that is the Pope questioning whether Donald Trump is a true Christian.
I've got one,
Yeah.
and that is the Pope has announced that contraception is okay in areas where women may be exposed to Zika virus.
Absolutely, full marks. I might even be able to bring up the. No, that's the Donald Trump one.
Now, if you extend that to places where women might be exposed to AIDS, we'll be doing something.
Well, I don't know. And let me. There we go. Isn't that bad? Let me just get it slightly bigger. I think it's incredibly significant. Let me just
Oh yeah,
Capture-
I'm not
capture
down
the
for his
headline,
decision there.
which people on Vaughan will be able to see, and hopefully on YouTube. Pope endorses birth control for some women. Now, the only thing that, and this, of course, as Fiona rightly says, is in relation to the Zika virus. It was a statement that he made once he got back to the Vatican after visiting Mexico. But I think that that's of huge significance. But
Yeah.
what's interesting is, a few days later, a statement came out of the Vatican saying that when he said that birth control was okay, he wasn't endorsing the use of condoms.
What?
That's the Vatican for you, isn't it?
Yes, and this is something that I have puzzled over for quite some time, and I've seen it happen on a number of occasions. Not usually with the Pope himself, but with, say, a cardinal who has said something, and it's always been that person's stance, even when they were an archbishop, and they get promoted to cardinal, and they stick to the line they've always held, and they get called to the Vatican, and they change their tune.
Well, I think the trouble with this Pope is that he just he speaks too freely for the majority of the Vatican's liking.
Yeah,
I
think so.
And then they have to sort of like backtrack and say, well, he didn't really mean that, and whatever. But yeah, I don't
They want to
include
control
in,
the Pope. They want to control the Pope.
Well,
The
part of that
Curia want to
issue,
control him.
not allowing condoms, isn't that really the only form of birth control that would really do anything to fight the virus? I mean, I don't think a diaphragm would do much good, or jelly or anything.
No. It's not to do with sexual transmission of the virus.
it's the
What
effect
it
on the
is
child.
that-
So female, the pill, as it's known.
It's
That
to prevent.
that seems to be what he was referring to.
Yeah,
But I was
what he's
thinking
referring
about
to.
transmission to the mother as well, though. So
I
I'm
don't
thinking
believe-
of both.
No, what it's all about is that if you contract Zika virus when you're pregnant, it can cause congenital malformation of the fetus.
Oh, okay.
So at the moment, while this virus is out of control, the trick is to not get pregnant.
Yeah.
So it's got nothing to do with control of the disease. It's attempting to prevent a large number of births with congenital defects. Zika
Yeah.
virus in Brazil, there were 300 cases a year. And then in the last 4 months, there's been way over 3,000 cases. So they've gone from 300 odd a year up to over 3,000 in 4 months. So multiply
Okay.
that by 3 for the annual number. And that's the problem. Because each case, if the woman is pregnant, there's a risk of small head syndrome in the fetus, placental malformations. Many of them are having spontaneous miscarriages 12, 14, 16 weeks because the malformations are so bad caused by the virus. So the trick is to not get pregnant.
What I don't understand, if indeed the statement from the Vatican was he's not endorsing condoms, what's the difference between taking the pill and wearing a condom? I suppose I'm kind of guessing that if he endorsed the use of condoms for this particular issue, then it would be very difficult for him not to endorse it in relation to other conditions.
Yes,
Do I
probably.
do I really have to say it? Do I
Go
really
on.
have to do it? Every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is good.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to try and squeeze this in the last. I think we started at 12 minutes past, so we've got another 6 minutes. And one of the things that I struggled with today was I was trying to make an amendment to the contents of the Magic Sandwich Show Vaughan TV site, and I couldn't get in because I'd forgotten my password, and it reminded me that I'd got an email from AVG, which you may be familiar with. It's an antiviral program that I use, and
Oh, yes.
I think it's one of the best around. Even its free version is absolutely outstanding. But they
I'm not
sent
talking
me
to them.
they sent me this week a link to a blog site which listed the worst top 25 worst passwords of 2015. Now, before I bring it up on screen, anyone want to have a guess at what any of the top 25 worst passwords would be? And again, of course, this goes out to the audience, and we've already got 1, 2, 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're not. Well, actually, let me just check. I think,
Password
one.
confuses
I'll
with
give you.
my
I'll give you
guess.
this. 1, 2,
I would
3,
say
4.
password.
Who said 1, 2, 3, 4?
I was just going password as well.
Yeah, well, Lex Lugner had the one that I had was a
Junko,
password 1, 2, 3.
something or other. 1, 2, 3, 4 is listed at number 8 of the worst 25. So give yourself a point for that. The Rumpus says password,
That's
and
what I was going for.
Yep.
you were
me
going
too.
for. Well, if you had said it before Rumpus did, you would have claimed the second worst.
Excellent. Pleased with that one. And Ryan was in this, said it as well.
QWERTY, someone has said, who said QWERTY? The Rumpus again. Have you got access to this list? QWERTY comes in at QWERTY comes in at number 4.
ABC 1, 2, 3.
No, that doesn't feature. Oh, sorry, it does. I'm so sorry. Give yourself half a point because you're outside the top 10. That comes in at number 13. Now,
What
here's
about
a
0,
clue.
0, 0?
Here's a clue. There are, and I find this very, very odd. There are 2 names of sports that feature, and there are also 2 names of an animal that feature.
Cat
Oh,
Sorry?
and dog. Cat and dog.
No, not enough letters.
Two
Budgie.
names of sports.
Yeah, sports.
That's
2 of
weird.
them.
Football.
Yes. Football comes in at number 7. Think America.
gosh.
Think
Well,
American for the
baseball,
next
and
one.
if you're gonna do that, yeah, baseball.
What's that?
Sure. If you're gonna do that, well then baseball. That kind of gives it away, I think.
Baseball, absolutely spot on. Baseball comes in at it's below football. It comes in at number 10.
Hey, basketball was
weird. I
invented
would-
here. It could have been that.
Yeah.
There's a variation on password, which uses a
Keyword.
0 as opposed to the letter O. There's a variation on QWERTY, if anyone wants to have a guess at that. It's so blindingly obvious. You might have to look at your keyboard to work it out, but
YTREWQ.
QWERT,
Uh-huh.
then
Weird. Oh, for goodness sake.
look at your
Then what?
keyboard.
Like just the whole top
QW.
row.
Sorry?
QWERTY up, whatever the whole top
Yes.
row would be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That comes in
Yeah.
at 22.
Is 0000 in there?
No. But you're very close.
1000.
No, you're getting closer.
1111.
Add an extra.
11111.
Is that 5 or 6?
5 ones.
6 ones would have got you 14th. I'll run, most of them are numbers. 1, 2, 3. The top one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because most passwords have to be 6. Second is password. Third is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Fourth is QWERTY. Fifth is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then we get football. Football. I just don't understand that. Oh, you got the 2 animals yet, have you?
No, we haven't got the animals.
Puppy, kitty, maybe.
A what?
Puppy or kitty.
No. Oh, sorry. I thought you said something quite different. No.
Do you mean
Trying to think.
the name that somebody would call an animal, or do you mean the type of animal?
A type of animal, although one is
Dolphin?
probably has never existed. But it does feature
Unicorn.
in mythology. No, almost. Well, you're on the right.
Dragon?
Dragon. Excellent.
Oh,
And the other one, I don't think you'd ever guess this.
that's hardly a
Does
pet, a
anyone
dragon.
in the chat? No, it's not elephant. It's.
Chimera?
I'll give you a clue.
Yeah.
It's 6 letters. And I'll give you another clue. It begins with M.
How are you even
Beginning with
getting these?
M,
Martian?
6 letter.
No, this is actually a real animal.
Oh, oh.
A real animal that begins with an M. What?
Well, it's a genre, or is it a genre? No, it's not a genre. It's a
It's a kind.
it's
It's
a
a
kind.
kind.
It's
There
a
you
Yes,
kind.
Yes.
And some people say that some people will say that we are of this
Monkey.
kind. There we go.
Monkey.
Monkey comes in at number 18. I'll just read through the rest of them. Let Me In is 19. Login is 20, which sort of like doesn't comply with the 6 things, 6 letters. Princess, 21.
Really?
The entire top row, I don't know. The entire top row is at 22. Solo comes in at 23. Password with that variation. And number 25, here's one for you. It's a name of a very well-known series of films.
Star
Tomb
Wars?
Raider.
Star Wars, Ryan. I think you've won this round. There's one that when I first looked at it, it looked incredibly odd, and I thought, why is that coming in at number 15? And it
Something
is
backwards or something.
no, it's not. But when you look at your keyboard again, you'll probably be able to tell me what the. I'll give you the first 4. You'll be able to tell me what the second 4 are. It's 1 Q A Z. What's the second?
S X. Yeah.
Yep, there we go. That comes in
I'm
at
surprised
15.
that there aren't more. Well, first off, I'm baffled by this list. Like, I mean, even the ones you guys are guessing, and like the ones that we didn't even guess, like why princess? How many people are using that?
Yeah.
And how do they know? I don't know. But let me my final question
Can
to
I
you.
give you my thought on that one?
Yeah, well,
Parents-
just before you do, my last question to all of you is, what password do you use for your accounts?
I use
What?
all of them.
All of them.
Well, that's only 25 to go through, and I'll actually.
Well-
Sorry, Ryan, you were going to say.
Oh, I was saying, princess. It could be a password that parents use when they're setting up an account for their daughter. That was the thought occurred to me.
That's the only thing that I could come up with as well.
Yeah.
But there we go. All right, one last question for you all, and then we'll wrap it up. In a recent survey, computer security personnel identified how many new computer viruses in the month of December of 2015. Hogtie, you can go first.
720.
720?
Yep.
Hogtie, okay. Fiona, you can go second.
Oh, I'm going for well over 1,000. But I
Well
don't know where
over
they
a
sort of
1,000.
drop. Yes, that's a bit fluffy, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll do. Ryan, you could play the Price is Right trick again.
I'm gonna say that if this was a story, there may have been some weird, ironic coincidence. I'm gonna go with 2015.
I want to.
You are all so way off the mark.
I want to say well over 1,000 plus one.
You're still. I'm actually going to put it up on screen. Let me just get this. I haven't verified the source, but 22 million. So
What?
whoever said, oh, you're not actually watching the Vaughan screen, are you? Yeah. Well, the nearest or the highest figure was 20,000 that was put in by Junko again, and Roy is just whooping all of our asses tonight. I think Roy is the
He's
overall.
Googling.
He might be, but there we are. And my follow-up question was going to be how many emails, one in how many emails is found to be effective? Infected, not effective.
I'm going to guess 1 in 131.9. You ready, screen share?
I knew there was a reason that I shouldn't have put that screenshot up so quickly. But yeah. But
So Hog Pie read it off, did he?
I don't
it's
know.
1 in 132.
Have any of you ever been affected by viruses in a email? I mean, as I say, I use AVG, and it automatically puts anything suspect into a junk folder, and I never ever even delete anything from that folder because they fall out after a few days, and even deleting them, I think, sort of like gives the potential hackers an idea that is still an active email account. So I never bother.
I have dealt with some phishing software in the past.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I've actually, ironically, dealt with something which completely bricked my laptop. Completely bricked it way back. And it still hasn't recovered from this. And I can't install the new AVG. And what it was a faulty version of AVG that was released. And it knackered your computer in the BIOS.
Well, if you need if you need some help in legal advice on that issue, I might be able to find you a decent lawyer. Now that's very surprising for AVG.
It's a bit I can't remove.
It's very surprising for AVG
terrible.
because I found them to be absolutely outstanding. And every time I get a new program that offers me any other thing like Norton or many of the other popular ones, I always turn them down. And if I buy a new computer, the very first thing I do is to actually remove those programs and install AVG. So that's my recommendation.
I've always done that. But
there we go.
I can't install it now because I can't get the remnants of the old one off. It won't come off.
Even with system restores
until the old one's removed, and it asks, do I want it automatically removed? I say yes, and then it tells me it can't remove it, so it can't install a new version.
I have a friend who might be able to talk you through that if you see if there's anything he can do for you.
Well, I've been struggling with this now since about 2009. I think that was when it happened. But they would only give you tech help.
If you've got a computer from 2009, you need to get a new computer.
No, I can't afford it. But they said they would give us online help, everybody that was affected, if we paid the premium rate for AVG. Us free users got no help whatsoever.
So that confuses our audience. I'm highly recommending AVG, and Fiona is saying don't touch it because they won't help you if things go wrong. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I should have bought scene 1. And for some reason, scene 1. That's very odd. Scene 1 seems to have lost the screen capture. Let me just get that back. I don't know why that's happened. It's probably AVG.
It probably.
Oh,
You
I
need
hate
to just
hangouts. I can't remember why. We did hangouts for a while, but I hate them. There we go. Right, I'm going to wrap things up now. So thank you all for your attendance. That includes the audience. Congratulations to Roy for, I don't think anyone can doubt it, being this week's winner of the quiz. Congratulations. And thank you all. It's been fun. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time, unless anyone has any closing comments. I will wrap up things now. Does anyone want to say anything before we go? Well, I do. Ryan, I think it's been wonderful to have you on the show. I hope that you may be or may consider joining us on a future show. Your contribution has been very constructive and interesting. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I'd like to be on again if anytime.
Okay, well, 2 weeks from today. And
Excellent.
I will certainly try and check out. I'm still getting a message that this XSplit is using too much CPU, so it doesn't seem to have affected the program, but we'll have it sorted perhaps by 2 weeks' time. And I don't even know what the date is for that, but we'll see you. It's always the same day, it's always the same time. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. It's been great having you. Thank you very much. And that's Vaughn's